All right, well, happy Wednesday. We don't have too much left in chapter 3. Actually, we got pretty far, but dictionaries are a little bit crazy. So far, hopefully everything we've done sort of made sense. Here's a bunch of things I want to stick together in some sort of sequence with lists, with tuples, and then a set. Well, there's not really an order to it, but it's still just a bunch of things, right? A unique bunch of things. Here, so we don't have any duplicates. Dictionary now changes things. So dictionaries behave very differently. Fire up PyCharm here, in that they allow us to keep pairs of values. So if you think of a dictionary, it has a word and then a definition, right? So you have, here's the thing that I'm looking up, and here's the thing that's associated with it. So here's the word, and here's a definition. And sometimes you have more than one definition, right? Because English is stupid, and words can mean many things. It's a crazy language. So we're going to deal with pairs of things. So you have a key, which is the thing you want to look up here, and then you have the value associated with that key. So we have key value pairs in a dictionary, and we just have a bunch of those. And like a set, you have a unique set of keys. And hopefully that makes sense, because in the dictionary, you only have the word once. Even if it has multiple definitions, it's still the same word, right? So you only have one key to some value or values associated with it here. And the syntax now is actually going to look really similar to sets here, like we did this way, because it uses the same syntax. So I can make, this is how we do like grades here. It uses the curly brace syntax here, curly brace for dictionary. What's different though is now we're going to give it a value, or I'm sorry, a key colon a value. So I can say Eric and then colon the letter A. So I have an A. So that's a pair here. So this each, we have key colon value. And then we comma separate each pair. Separate. Okay, so Eric, the key of Eric is associated with the value of A, right? And then let's say if Jeb was in my class here, I try and get him to watch my YouTube videos, and he's just not quite ready yet. Like he could if he tried harder. So Jeb, he's not paying as much attention, so he got a B probably in the class. And then Journey, she loves following along here, but just turned 14, so it's a bit of a stretch to do a college class there. So she probably maybe at a C here. So now I have one key and its associated value, another key and its associated value, and another key and its associated value. So I have 3 pairs here. Now, to use those values, like if I wanted to print them out here, I can say, hey, print. Now, you don't really get the key out. What you're going to get out is the value associated with the key, because you're asking the dictionary for the key. So if I print, I want Eric's grade here. So this is, we'll do a formatted string. Eric's grade, goodness, let me use double quotes. Eric's grade is, and then I'm just going to substitute in here, right? So I'm going to use my dictionary. This is where dictionaries get silly. Remember when we did lists, and we did tuples, and we did strings, you could use the square braces to say index of? Well, with a dictionary, the order doesn't matter, just like a set, but what you give it is the key. So instead of index of, it's key of, right? If I was going to pronounce this, I say grades key of Eric. They give me the value associated with the key Eric in the dictionary. So this is, dictionary, variable, square brace, key, to get the value associated. So it's going to look in the dictionary and see, okay, find the key of Eric, tell me what value is associated with it. So it's going to go look up, okay, find Eric in here and give me an A back. So it should say Eric has an A, Eric grade is an A. Look at that, I did pretty good. Right? Then, if we wanted to print someone else's grade, I'm just going to copy paste this because I'm lazy. Right? Let's go look up Jeb's name. Oh, not 2 P's though. So let's say, okay, Jeb's grade is, and now remember, Python is pretty case sensitive here. So if I do a lowercase j instead of an uppercase j, it's not going to find the key, right? Because Python is case sensitive, and it crashes here. I get a key error, Jeb. That's the only thing we get here. So not the most interesting error. Here, case sensitive, and it just crashes. So you got to be a little sensitive. There we go. You got to be a little bit careful when you're trying to get stuff out of dictionaries, and we'll look at some other ways. We can do that in a minute here. So if you don't know if the key's there, we might run into some trouble. But easy enough for us, we just gave it a bunch of keys. But like if we're dealing with some user input, hey, user, give me someone's name and give me their grade. Give me someone's name, give me their grade. And then later we'll say, okay, now I'm going to look someone up. Hey, you know, I'm in advising, I want to look up someone's record here. Who do you want to look up? If they type it in wrong, we're just going to crash. So we got to be a little bit careful about that. And we'll look at some ways we can do that next week when we get to chapter 4 in branching. That'll make a lot more sense once we get to branching, but we're going to start a little slow. So if you're a fan of football, the actual football, not soccer, 'cause I don't know why we have to name things weird here, but they give you some football players' names and jersey numbers and things. So there's fun examples there if you're into football. Yeah.
Can the value of the key be anything else in the string?
Yeah. So you can use all sorts of crazy value if you want here. So you can say, how about like scores? I don't know. I'm trying to think of what would make sense for numbers. Like, how about seats, right? So seats, then key of 1, and the value associated with it can be, I don't know, first place or something. I don't know, like you can associate any sort of value here. 2, and you can even mix and match, which I don't recommend here, but you can have this like the value associated with a key of 2 is the number 4.2. This one was a string first place, but anything you want to throw in here you can. Just like a list, you can throw anything you want in the list. Python doesn't really care. It'll figure it out here for you. It's just going to be kind of weird working with it. Yeah, so you can use any sort of value for keys and any sort of value for the associated value as well. So let me put this back to capital J, Jeb. So now the weird thing, if I want to change the value associated with a key, I can say, okay, hey, maybe Jeb spent a little bit of time actually watching the videos this time before jumping right into the homework. You guys never do that, right? Of course, watch all the lectures before you try the homework and read all the chapters in the book. You're much better than I never read the book in school. I did terrible. I did well enough. You know what? There's a fun story. What do you call the last place? Not last place. The person with the lowest grade in med school who passed? Doctor. C's get degrees. He's still a doctor, right? You don't know if your doctor got C's or A's, do you? Did you ask your doctor? Like, hey doc, how'd you do in school? How'd you do in med school? You wanted like the A students, or you like a C student here? We don't know. So C's get degrees, that's okay. So let's go update. So right now Jeb was getting a B, but maybe he spent a little bit more time studying here. And we're gonna say grades, key of Jeb, and we can assign to it. Just like a list, you could assign to an index. So you can say list, index of 2, assign a value of 27, whatever we wanted to do here, right? We were doing this with our lists. Foods, index of 0, assign it a value here. So the keys are assignable, but it's not, you're not changing the key, you're changing the value associated with that key. So we can change the associated value of a key with the assignment operator. Now, where this gets weird is you can also add keys using that exact same syntax. So if I wanted to say, hey, my daughter, she's going to turn 13 in November. I'm going to have 4 teenagers. Please pray for me. I'm sure you're all great teenagers, but having 4 of them scares me. So we'll say Jubilee here, and she's just turning 13. Maybe she's scraping by with a C-, just enough to pass here. So this same syntax, if the key doesn't exist, it adds the pair. So if the key does exist, it updates the value. If the key doesn't exist, it adds the pair. But the exact same syntax. So dictionary, key of, here's the key, associate, assign the associated value. So this will update the pair, this will create the pair. So you can also start with an empty dictionary if you want, bless you. So maybe we have, like we were doing that little menu thing before, right? So maybe we have some foods, or we'll call it the menu for the week, is an empty dictionary. So it starts empty. And then we'll ask the user, so how about what's for dinner tonight? So we get an input, our dinner is an input of what's for dinner tonight. And then we'll take our menu, our dictionary, key of, today's Wednesday, and then we'll assign it a value of dinner. Right, so whatever they've typed in for dinner, we're gonna go add a brand new key value pair, because it was empty to start, right? So this will add key value pair. And now we say, okay, here's Wednesday's dinner. And then we ask them again. And we also dinner is input, what's for dinner tomorrow? And then we'll take our menu, key of Thursday, and we'll assign dinner. Can you guys tell I'm hungry, right? Lunch, I don't usually have lunch before this class. I'm always hungry, and I got food on the brain. I had to get these at the gas station. I got these last night because I knew I wasn't going to be in a rush today. Didn't make my coffee in the morning. It was really sad. But then if we want, you can print the menu. And when you print out a dictionary, it looks surprising. Okay, what's for dinner tonight? And then we'll see what it looks like.
Bagels.
Bagels? All right. Like pizza bagels or just like bagel and cream cheese or just regular bagels? All right. What's for dinner tomorrow? Pizza? All right. And then we get Wednesday bagels, Thursday pizza. So just like that key value pair syntax, name or the key colon value, they're comma separated, it prints out just like that when we print a dictionary, which is fun. So now we've got a couple values in here, and then if we want, hey, we could put all of the days of the week in here, and then we could ask them, hey, what day do you want to know, or, enter a day, we'll tell you what's for dinner that day. We could go out to the dictionary, that key of, so we could get a day is an input of what day do you want to know is for, does that even make sense? Sure, we'll just ask them to enter a day, and then I can just print the menu key of that day. So if they enter Wednesday or Thursday, we'll get a value back out. Because we only added Wednesday and Thursday. So we had bagels, we had pizza, right? What day do you want to, okay, so what day? Which one should we get out here? Sorry, I forgot to take some insulin. That's not good. Like 27 grams of carbs? Okay, that's not too bad. It's like half as much as a pop. What should we try? Wednesday or Thursday or make it crash? Wednesday? So we say Wednesday with a capital W, right? Because that's how I put it in, with a capital W. We get out bagels. So the key could also be a variable that someone's typing in, right? Or the value could be a variable, and we could go get it by a certain key. So any way you want to work with these, we've got options. So we can make up a big dictionary, ask for keys and values. We could make up a dictionary where we know what the keys are and have them associate their values. Like eventually we can build out a grade book, and we can put all your names in and all your grades in, right? And then I can print it back out and then enter it into another system because my Python can't talk to Banner, but that's okay. We'll get there eventually. So we got lots of fun ways we can store if the data that we're working with should be pairs. If I have a key and an associated value, I can use a dictionary. Again, it's just giving us options for what we want to do with this. So before, I think we had like a foods list, and then we had a lotto ticket. Yeah, we had a lotto ticket list and a winning ticket list, right? So I made a winning ticket and I made a regular ticket, right? So I would have to have two different sets here, two different lists for my different tickets. Maybe I want to have a key of this is the winning ticket, and here's a key of this is your ticket, or here's a key of this is your 23rd ticket because you have a gambling issue here, and you buy a bunch of tickets every week. I worked with someone she bought 2 lotto tickets a day and said that was her retirement plan. She's like, one of these days I'll hit it big and I'll retire. I'm like, you know how math works, right? Like, no, it was sad. Like, she won $100 one time after like weeks of spending $4 a day and thought she was ahead. She's like, look, I won. I got $100. I was like, well, yeah, you already spent like $300 in the last month. Like, come on, do some math, but that's okay. So if what we're storing should be these pairs, it can make a lot of sense. So their example here, right, of here's the football player's name and their jersey number. Sure, that's values we can associate together here. We can do stuff like that. This one is caffeine content. Quite fond of this one here. So here's the string for the key of what it is here and how much caffeine is in it. Monster Hitman Sniper Energy, 270, holy crap. Dark chocolate coated coffee beans, 860. Don't eat that whole pack of coffee beans. I've done it. Not the entire pack, but I'll eat the chocolate covered coffee beans. They're pretty good. I brought them to my final exam one time, and I just would munch on them while I was doing one of my finals. It was fantastic. Really good snack. Buzz Bites chocolate chews, 1,600. Woo! Where like regular coffee is only 60 per cup. I think Starbucks is like twice as much, right? Aren't they a little bit more than that? All right, but other fun things we can do. Actually let's grab all this here. I'm going to steal their example because why not? And then other things we can do with dictionaries. So remember how we could say, hey, I want the sum of something here if I give it a numeric list. Now, if you want to get all of the keys out of your dictionary, this is our caffeine content, we can say .keys. Will give me all of the keys here. Well, I can't really sum those together because they're all strings here, but just so you can get all the keys, you can get all the values. Now, having just the values by themselves is probably not very interesting unless we're doing something silly like, oh, hey, let's go add up all the caffeine. Like, if you eat everything on this list here today, this is how much caffeine you've had in the day, right, or something. We could do that. So this is, if you eat all this, you'll, double quotes, I'll just escape it. You'll have this much caffeine. And then we want to do a sum of, oh, this was supposed to be print, sorry. So we'll print the sum of the values here. So we'll get all the values out and then we'll stick them in a big sum calculation. One more, there we go. And then end my string for printing. And then end the parenthesis for printing. So notice there's like these little red lines that show up here. That's how I know I didn't have something there. And like everything else is red once the first line is red, because then it gets confused about everything after that. Python is a little bit dumb sometimes. So like I'm noticing that I didn't finish something. So we got to end my quote here, and then in my parentheses here, and then all the red goes away. That's a little preview over on the right-hand side there. Let's see, so how much caffeine is that? 2,995 milligrams of caffeine. How much caffeine? Oh my goodness, caffeine until poisoned. Until overdose? Can you overdose? Is it
8 grams.
Caffeine overdose. Let's see. Caffeine overdose. Dizziness, diarrhea, and thirst, insomnia. No wonder. I thought there was like a number here. More than 400 grams a day. So we're only 7.5 times your daily recommended dose. Again, don't eat that whole bag of coffee or chocolate chews. That's probably your mistake here. But what a pot of coffee is 10 cups. Probably a little over. Imagine you get used to it, right? Probably. It hasn't killed me yet. Okay. So dictionaries, getting values back out, right? We did that. Okay, so you can set a new pair. You can update a new pair. You can update the value associated with the pair. If you want to delete something, you can use the del keyword. I don't like this. The del keyword's a little weird. So maybe we're gonna like take out the chocolate chews because that's just probably a bad idea here, the buzz bites. So if we want to remove that, we're going to take our dictionary, so this will be our caffeine content, and we can call a couple options. So just like with sets, you could pop a value out of the set, you can pop a value out of the dictionary. This is probably a little nicer. The del keyword is, most people don't use that one as often. So we can say, hey, I want to pop, and I have to give it the key to pop here. So I want to pop this key off. Let's remove this one here. And now when I sum, I'm going to get a slightly lower number, only 3 times as much of your daily recommended amount here. Right, how much is in this one? Where does it list the caffeine? Vitamins, calcium, iron, potassium, vitamin, riboflavin, which is vitamin B. I don't know why that one's named different. Vitamin B6. Oh, there it is. Ingredients per can. No, still not caffeine. Doesn't it list it on here somewhere? Am I crazy? I thought they used to tell you how much was in here. All right, let's Google it. How much caffeine in Starbucks triple shot energy mocha? 225. There we go. So that's almost 4 cups of coffee in a triple shot. I've already had one. This will be my second one. It's okay. That's over the 400, but that's normal for me. I don't recommend that for you folks, but that's okay. All right. So if we wanted to go and add that, we could. So maybe we'll go add that one in ourselves. So we'll go take our caffeine, right? key of Starbucks, triple shot, energy, mocha, bold mocha, not just mocha, but bold mocha. And I'm going to say, I just want to associate, so here's the value associated with this key, is 225. And notice the name of the dictionary here is really nice, caffeine content, mg. They're telling us it's milligrams. Generally, I don't like abbreviations. I would recommend you spell out milligrams, but most everyone knows mg is probably milligram. That one's probably pretty safe. If you start getting into some weird units, you should just spell it out here, because not everyone might know. But now we know exactly what's in here, which is nice, right? The name of the variable describes what it's storing, right? So that we don't need to add a comment here and say, this is a dictionary where the key is the name of something and the value associated is the number of milligrams of caffeine in it. That's a worthless comment, right? That's just not helpful. So tell ChatGPT you don't want stupid comments. I think you showed you that before, right? You can ask it to stop giving you stupid comments. Some of them are nice and helpful, right? And they can kind of explain what's happening. But usually, like, the variable name should do some of that at least here, okay? So then once we add that in, we should get 225 more. Yep. So now we're back to almost 4 times our daily amount of caffeine, right? Because we can sum up all the values, right? So we can get out the values, we can get out all the keys. There's some fun things we can do with dictionaries. So key value pairs, right? Hey, here's a patient's name and their age. So we're going to make a dictionary of their ages with the key of the name, the value associated being their age. And I can have a list of my patients, and I can do something with that. Right, so dictionaries in Python, we're going to use all over the place. There's a lot of times we want to have, here's a key and here's some associated values with that key. They're super helpful, very useful for storing things here. And it goes pretty well. Okay? Let's see. So common data types. Okay, so a quick little summary of all of the things we can do, right? So we've got numeric types. Our integers are our whole numbers. Our floats are numbers with decimal places. Those are the 2 types we're going to use most of the time. Of sequence types, so that's types where order matters. Strings are sequence types. They're just storing a bunch of characters. They are immutable, so we can't change individual characters in a string, but we can make new strings. Lists are mutable, right? We can change at given indexes. So with the list at this position, let's change the value here in the list. A tuple is an immutable, so I don't want this to change here, but here's a sequence of values here. And then a set is mutable. It's unordered and unique elements only, right? You only have one of each thing in the set. You can't have duplicates here. So once you caught that Pokemon, you can't catch another one. Right? And then our dictionary is sort of like a set with associated values, right? Here's a unique list of keys and their associated values. So this is all ways that I can just store multiple pieces of information using a single variable. Makes things easy for me, and then later we can go manipulate those values or do something with those values as we go. So if we finished out the grade book and I assigned people, maybe I did percentages like that. I had 93 and 92 and 95 and 75 instead of the letters, then it might be interesting to get the sum of the scores divided by the length of your scores. So I could quickly get, hey, what's the average score in the class? That would be pretty quick for me to do. So choosing which type you want here, right? This is which ones are these here, right? If you have square braces, you have a list. If you have curly braces, you have a dictionary or a set. You don't really know until we start doing something here. And then getting rid of stuff. Okay, sure. Oh, this is finding the error. Okay, in the code. Interesting. In the container code. Sure, so what did they do wrong here? So with grades as a dictionary, right, we're not appending. There's no append for dictionaries. We just use that square brace notation. It's grades key of what, and then you can assign it a value. It'll add or update, right? So that's your practice. Sorry, you can go through some of that here. And then they have a little example here with health data. So looking at, I think this was the BMI calculator, right? Oh, it's age in days, sure, okay. I thought one of them had I think one of the labs, you calculate BMI. It's a little formula. Now, binary numbers. These are fun. We spent a little bit of time looking at binary, right? This is the powers of 2. This is the first Monday of class, I think. I got really excited, started to talk about binary. We can store really big numbers using little bits at a time here. So you can store all sorts of stuff. They give you the little bit toggler here, which is fun. So you can store any number up to 255 in a single byte here. You don't need to remember that. It's not all that helpful, but that's a fun fact for you. Right, so 256 different values, but because we start at 0, like everyone counts at 0, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how you teach kids to count? No? Oh, that's how we count in programming land. You'll get used to it eventually. So from 0 to 255 is 256 unique values, right? Every time we add more bits, we get to keep on doubling thanks to the power of 2. You think math for that, right? And then converting numbers, great. Cool, I think we did pretty good. Yeah, a couple different labs, some practice here. Simple statistics, this one's fun here. Once we get to loops, we'll have a lot of fun with it. We can start actually like playing with random numbers and generating them and doing some cool things. Loops are a lot of fun. We can play with dice or pretend dice. I'm fond of dice. I'm sure you couldn't tell. So those are fun. All right, I know this has been a lot, right? We're only in like the 3rd week here, right? Because we started on a Wednesday. I guess this is the start of the 3rd week then, right? So we did chapter 1, the first half week, and then chapter 2, chapter 3. Okay, so 3rd week in, we're getting to a lot of stuff. There's a lot of syntax in Python, some things are square braces, some things are curly braces, some things are parentheses, some things you use a dot, some things you don't use a dot. It's okay, like that's why we're practicing it a bunch. You gotta do it a bunch of times, just like math class, to start getting comfortable with it. And if you ever forget, just go look it up. And PyCharm will tell you if you did the wrong thing here. So when I get to my grades and I wanna go add something here and I try append, I just get a little error here. Unresolved attribute reference append for class typed dict. It's not the most helpful error message here, but it doesn't know what append is when you give it a typed dictionary, or dict short for dictionary. When you're using dictionary, it doesn't know what append is. So we have to look at these messages and sort of figure out what they mean here. You could Google these sorts of things or ask ChatGPT, like, what does this really mean? If you're not familiar with it. And the more you do it, the more you get used to those error messages. So we'll see those sorts of things here. It doesn't like my blank line. So sometimes you get these weird warnings here because you have too many blank lines, and it's just upset with that, or like it doesn't like spaces. This PEP8 is the formatting standard. So if your code doesn't match the way that it thinks it should look, it gives you a warning, says, hey, your code looks ugly. That's all that really is here. I try and get rid of most of them as possible because it bothers me to have all the lines in here, but sometimes I just forget and I ignore them. So you don't have to clean up those yellow lines, they're just warnings here. If it's a red line, yeah, that's going to crash our program. It won't work at all, but most of the yellow lines are just warnings there. And then typo in word jebs. Oh, doesn't know how to spell jeb, apparently. Let's see. So yeah, we don't have to go through and fix all those lines here, but anything that's red is going to crash our program, and it doesn't like that syntax. We'll just take some practice with that. So I'm going to go to GitHub here, and we'll commit to this. 1501, and it's, again, green is for new stuff, right? So I added a bunch of new lines at the top of this file here. I'll say this is Dictionaries. It's misspelled, but that's okay. No one's going to judge me, right? All right, so it's pushed out. So this is all on GitHub. Again, this is linked out on our Canvas site. You can come out here. All the code we do in class, I'm Royal apparently, will be out here on GitHub. I think the lab went pretty well for most everyone, right? We have the 3 parts to the lab. I don't think we need to spend too much time looking at that one again. That was just some practice with lists. A couple of people noticed when you have a list here, there is a shortcut if you don't want to get stuff out by index value. Let's see, so here is foods. So I had said, hey, generate a random number. Let's see, we added some foods in here, right? We said foods append. Okay, so after here, I don't remember how many items are in foods. Right, it's probably 4 or 5. We've removed some. So if I just want to get a random food out here, print your random food, and then I'll do this as a formatted string. I can get the foods list index of. Now you can do this all in one line, or you can make 2 different lines for it if you want. I kind of like it being on one line. I don't know. It doesn't really hurt anything one way or the other. We'll say foods index of. So I need to give it a number from 0 up to the length minus 1, right? Because remember, there is no index at the length. So if there's 6 items, you have indexes 0 to 5. So I can't use the length. I need the length minus 1. So I want random.randint from 0 up to the length of foods minus 1. And then, oh, I got to import random. So if you don't want to type import random at the top, you can hover over it, this red line, and it gives you a little light bulb. It's like, oh, I think I know how to fix this one for you. It doesn't always actually fix it the way that we would do it. And sometimes it gives you some really screwy stuff, so it doesn't always work. But for this one, we can just say, hey, I want to import random. And the first random.random is actually not the one we want. We want this random, the second one. You'll see up at the top, it gives us import random. If you click to that first option, it gives you a different looking import, which is a shortcut, but again, it's not something we've covered before, so it might be a little weird, and then it's not going to work the way you want it to. So if you pick the first one here, it says from random, import random. And we haven't done that though. And then it still doesn't actually fix my line here, which is the sad thing. It's still like, you can't do that. So not helpful. It's like, I don't know what a randint is. Can't reference randint. So again, the light bulb, it tries to be helpful, but it's not always what you want it to do. So what we wanted it to do was import random. Right? So now that I import random, we've got a random value, and then we need to finish this square brace here and finish the curly brace there, right, to match. Everything, once we open one, we have to close it. They all have to match or balance here. So a random number from 0 up to the length minus 1, because randint is inclusive, because Python's weird like that, will give me a random food. Right? That was the idea here with just playing with random indexes. So generate a number here. This is pretty common. And some people said, hey, I found a shortcut. I don't know if you just Googled it online or where you found it here, but you could also say another random food. So random has this, if you say dot, right? We used randint. There's a bunch of other things you can do with random. One of them is choice. You can say, hey, random choice of foods. Random choice will pick one thing out of a list randomly, right? Choose a random element from a non-empty sequence. So if you just hover over these functions, you'll get this little helper text here. It pops up, there's a little small, it's just up on the screen, but on your laptop, it might be able to see it a little better here. Right? This one says return random integer in range a comma b, including both endpoints. So if you couldn't remember what it was, it goes and looks it up for you, which is really nice. So anything in the Python library, we can get this IntelliSense, it's telling us what the function does here, which is really nice. So this is choose a random element from a non-empty sequence. Cool, we can do that. And then the other fun thing you can do is you can pick like more than one item, right? I think we can say comma, is it 2? No. Where do we get, is it choices? I think choices gives us like 2, no? Somewhere in here you get more than one item. I always have to go look it up because I can never remember. Random number of items from sequence. Let's see, what is it here? Let's try Stack Overflow. No? No? Oh my goodness. Oh, sample, right? Sample, not choice. So you can sample n number of items out. There we go. I don't know why. So Stack Overflow is usually pretty good, but no one came up with that. That was kind of sad. And this is where you can get down those weird rabbit holes. Like if you just start Googling stuff and clicking on links and grabbing code that you don't really understand, it might not go very well for you, right? It might work, it might not work, and then you might not know why it doesn't work, right? So if we find some code online, you have to go figure out what it's actually doing for us. Just like if ChatGPT gives us code here, we should go figure out, is it doing what we want it to do here, right? Just because the internet says something, you know it's not true, right? You all know that's how the internet works? Okay. Are you too young to have watched The Office? No? Okay. You watched it?
Wait, which Office? The US?
The US version.
Oh yeah, I watched it.
Okay. One of my favorite quotes is the dumb boss there. Steve Carell playing him. He's like, the internet, Wikipedia is the best because anybody can write anything they want, so you know it's got to be true. That's like my favorite quote from the show. So you all know better than that, right? Just like you know your order of operations. Don't trust the internet. Okay, thank you. All right, cool. I think that's about all we got. So we got a little bit of extra time then if you want to get working on the project here. I can answer questions. Do I have to get logged in here? I got a new phone. I have to fix Duo. That's what it was. So I couldn't get into Canvas yet. get started on that. Monday, we'll get into chapter 4. It'll be a lot of fun, and we'll do lab again. Right? We'll just keep on this pattern as we go. Okay. All right. If you got anything else, let me know. If not, you have a great Wednesday, and I will see you on Monday.